Thanks, Wally, and thanks to the RIU crew to let me come here and talk to you a little bit about silica. We've got a lot of silica. We've got 5 projects. They're all in Western Australia. Collectively, we've got about 1.4 billion tonnes of silica sand, and it ranges from sort of 99 it's about 98 to 99.5%. We can process that up. All of it's plus 99% silica dioxide. All of these are low impact, simple processing, simple mining, fairly unique rehabilitation process, but these are very, very long-term projects. We're talking 100 years. The reason why we selected a few of these sites is it's close to infrastructure. We've got rail lines next to them, gas pipelines next to them, and this is, at the moment, it's an opportunity for export from Western Australia, but there's potential downstream processing as well. We're talking to the government about glass manufacturing and other downstream processes. We've got 2 projects that we're really concentrating on. Our first cab off the rank is Arrowsmith North. We've completed a BFS on that in 24. We'll update that now because we had a recent independent technical review undertaken, and in that, in fact, is part of the due diligence for financing, because at last we've got approvals for this project. We've got environmental approvals, we've got mining approvals, and we've got approval to build a plant. So this is the first project to get off the into production. So we're looking at about 2 million tonnes a year. We've got more than 100 years worth of resource here. So this has no exploration risk. Ultimately, once we put offtake agreements in place, this will have low export risk as well. So it's our first project. Our second project is Muche. This is higher grade, and it feeds into a different product. A different market. Arrowsmith North are going to flat glass, container glass market, whereas Muche will go into the ultra clear glass. The real market for ultra clear glass is the piece of glass that goes over solar panels. So that's growing at an incredible rate. We've got just under 750 million shares out there. Currently we're market cap just under 100 million. Very experienced board. Most of the board have been in this company since we floated in 2011. There's been a recent spike in the share price because of the approvals, basically. And the reason why we're in silica sand is it's double 2 reasons why. One is there's a shortening supply in Asia. It's hard to think that Asia is running out of sand, but it is. And you have to discount desert sands, which is where the bulk of the sand is, but that's also contaminated with iron. And almost all the uses of silica sand require low iron. So desert sands are out of the question. Beach sands are predominantly calcium carbonate. So where you see all your sand on the beach, that's no good for you either. So these are granite-based sands. So finding granite-based sands is difficult, increasingly difficult in Asia, because the bulk of the high-grade production comes from freshwater rivers and lakes, and they're losing access to those deposits. And the other ones they've got, not in rivers and lakes, are being depleted. So we're moving into a market where we've got lots of it, and there's increasingly a decrease in supply. And it's really the industrialisation in China and India that's driven that shortage, mainly because of concrete. Concrete uses up an enormous amount of silica sand. The world uses about 50 billion tonnes a year. 49.5 goes into concrete. And that creates a problem for the other silica sand users. So silica's not just in glass, but any other glass products as well. Lights that we've got here, LCDs, fiberglass insulation, tyres in your car, silicon rubber. You think about the rubber bit, but it's about 30% silica. So there are hundreds of different products that require silica sand, and generally inert silica sand. So that's the reason why we got into it. But there is a genuine supply crisis. So much so, there's a book here, it's mentioned here, The World in a Grain, very interesting reading. Who thought the sand could be interesting? But it started because the author read an article about a policeman getting shot in India trying to stop people mining sand illegally. And in fact, in India has about a 30% of sand in India is mined at night and illegally. And that's just India. China has all sorts of issues, and they're having the resort to taking quartzite mines and crushing it and grinding it down to sand size to make glass. So there's a genuine supply crisis. Now, if you have a look at, if you do any research on this, you'll find it very difficult to find out where glass ends up. It's because there's so many products, but you can certainly research the issues around sand becoming in short supply.
Not be aware how much of your everyday world relies on sand. From car engine blocks to ship propellers, power turbine parts to plumbing fittings. Most of these begin their life cast in sand moulds in foundries. Sand is the unsung hero of metal casting. But when it comes to industrial applications, not just any sand will do. Foundries demand sand with specific grain size, shape, purity, and thermal properties to ensure reliable casting results. While silica sand is generally suitable, what is available at Arrowsmith is uniquely suited. Its high thermal stability and consistent grain shape make it suitable for producing strong, dimensionally accurate castings across traditional and modern moulding techniques. Most foundries still use traditional raw sand for resin-bonded casting. These conventional methods rely on specific silica sand, forming a stable market. In the marine industry, foundries use sand to cast critical components that must withstand extreme forces and corrosion. As the global foundry industry grows to meet demand for cast metal components driven by key industries, so too does the need for quality sand. Additionally, as foundries adopt 3D sand printing, demand is rising for complex moulds across industries. Market forecasts suggest the sand 3D printing sector will triple in value by 2030. This is a shift worth noting. Sand is no longer just a bulk commodity. Foundry sand is a critical input to the manufacturing supply chain. Just what the Arrowsmith projects have to offer. By positioning to supply foundry-grade silica, both for traditional casting and 3D printing, there is a compelling opportunity to serve a diversified and growing market.
Four out of the 6 agreements we have for offtake are for foundry sand. We didn't realise we had good quality foundry sand, and until we were about 3/4 of the way through our metallurgical test work. And it was pointed out to us by our marketing manager, who's Korean, and he pointed out, he said, look, you realise you got good quality foundry sand? We said we had no idea. So we looked into it a bit more. In fact, we do. And all the samples we've sent to foundry companies, they've all come back and said this is the best quality foundry sand they've ever seen. Now, there's a couple of properties of foundry sand that is quite different to glass. Glass is all about the chemical composition, whereas foundry sand is all about the shape of the grain, the distribution of the grain sizes, but more important, its thermal stability. So we found we can heat this up to 1,000 degrees and nothing happens to it. So it is largely unique. And that's because these are individual crystals, and they're not clusters of quartz grains, of quartz crystals. So it's unique. It's not as big a market as the glass market, but we think we can supply into this market for a while. The automobile industry is absolutely dependent on foundry sand. So we're looking at the Asian market, particularly the automobile industry, and in fact our 2 offtake agreements in Korea, they supply sand for Hyundai and Kia. The guys we've got and Renault. And in Japan, they supply to Nissan and Honda. And we're working on the guys that supply Toyota. So it's a big chunk of our production from Arrowsmith North will go into the foundry industry. Glass making, it is a huge market. It's about 140 million tonnes a year just in Asia. So we're looking to go into the flat glass and the container glass market as well. This new industry, this part of 3D printing with silica sand is relatively new. China is way ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to this. And we've been talking to a couple of companies there. We're well aware of the specification that's required for this printing. We're pretty sure we can make it. We've got to do a bit more work on that, but substantially more. It's worth $300 a tonne. So Arrowsmith North, it sits 270 k's north of Perth. It's about 110 kilometres from Geraldton, which is where we'll export from. And really, we've got approval, so the next steps for Arrowsmith North are finalise our binding offtake agreements. We've got a few logistics contracts that we'll sign in the next few weeks, and we'll put in place finance, some debt finance, and make a final investment decision. We hope to do that all by the end of this year, be in construction next year and in production by end of next year. So the BFS we put out in 24. It's a good return. It's a sort of IRR of around 35%, but this study was only done on 25 years on a 100-year project. So it's very, very conservative. It's a good margin. There's about a 30% margin in this, and it will last for a very, very long time. It's simple processing. The key to this actually is attritioning. Now, attritioning is an agitated slurry, and all we're doing is polishing these individual grains. So the cleaner the grain is, twofold. One, you get rid of the stuff that's not quartz, but also, if you've got a cleaner grain, it is better for the foundry industry because they resin coat it and they want a clean grain so the resin will stick to the quartz grain, quartz crystal. So it's a simple process. All the rest of it's just getting rid of the stuff that you abrade off the silica quartz, the quartz crystals. Simple design. This will take about hopefully 8 to 12 months to build. $70 million. We're currently market capped at just under 100, so raising 70 shouldn't be too difficult. Muche, this will be our second project. It's closer to Perth. It's only 50 k's north of Perth. It'll follow Arrowsmith North. All the studies that we've done at Arrowsmith North, we've repeated at Muche, so this is ready to go. We currently have an application in with the state government to get recognised as a project of state significance. That will speed up the whole approvals process here, and we're just about ready to go. Really, this is the right time, right place. And the right time is when the sand supply in Asia is diminishing. So we've got Arrowsmith North, it's low cost, large scale, very strong economics on this. We've got Muche to follow, and it's a different market, so it's not competing with Arrowsmith North. It's high, ultra high purity silica to make ultra clear glass. Environmental approvals are in place for Arrowsmith North. It'll be there for a long while. The global demand for high purity silica sand is rising. Supply is tightening, so they're good dynamics for us. So we're well positioned to capitalise on any growing demand and any favourable pricing. So thank you very much.